power, that would be a problem for Terrence. But Errol is not really your typical one-punch guy. He's more that pressure guy, which means that you don't have to worry about the one shot so much. You got to worry about the accumulation. Now, the body attack, I totally agree with because he has a vicious body attack and he sticks with it. He has discipline with it. But as far as being bigger, that really won't make a difference until late in the fight. If that body attack has any effect on you, then that size would also have an effect. But he's not the one-punch guy that you think because he's bigger, he's going to hit him one time and knock him out. That's not him. He don't fight like that. Right. So it's like, I understand what Paulie's saying, but that's why it was always debatable to me as to who will win. Because can he last long enough to start affecting Terrence or...
Wow, Roy Jones Jr. says that Errol Spence is not a one-punch knockout artist, favors Terrence Crawford to beat him. And you guys heard the clip at the beginning. I really want to break this down. I've been meaning to break this video down. Link in the description. Roy Jones, he said Errol basically is not a one-punch guy. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. For the latest and greatest in boxing news, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford news, hit the like button. Now, I seen this interview and I've been meaning to make this video. Very confusing stuff from Roy Jones. Now, just full disclaimer, Roy is one of my favorite fighters of all time. If you follow my channel for any length of time, you'll know that. And also Mike Tyson, growing up, who could not like Mike Tyson? You know, that was American boxing fan. But both guys, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, some of their predictions on the fight, I'm not seeing it. Like you guys see on the screen, Mike Tyson basically said Terrence Crawford would beat Errol Spence because of how they dispatched of Sean Porter. Errol was in a drag-out war, dropped him, versus Sean Porter was knocked out by Crawford. Dad threw in the towel. To me, you know, I don't believe in these triangle theories. I think that's probably one of the weakest ways to kind of break down a fight because it's not a math equation. Now, in this video, I've already made the Mike Tyson video, so you guys check that video out. You know, I was talking about Mike Tyson. He said the way Terrence Crawford beat Sean Porter, right? Now, Roy said some things that it was actually a bit surprising because I really rate Roy. I think he's, you know, when he was on HBO, he was my favorite commentator on HBO. I think he has a lot of good insight, but just how he's breaking down the fight, I don't really understand some of the things that he's saying. And that's the beauty of boxing, to each his own. You know, make sure you guys come in and subscribe to my channel. I'm the best in the business. Roy, you know, he's entitled to his opinion, but some of these things that he was saying, I disagree with. You guys heard the clip at the beginning. Roy was saying that Terrence Crawford, you know, should get him, and Errol's size and being the naturally bigger, because Paulie Malignaggi is also on the show. And surprising enough, you know, with all the shenanigans from Paulie Malignaggi, the things he said about George Floyd, things he said about race in America, you know, I disagree with pretty much all of that, right? And I've made several videos talking about that. But surprisingly enough, I'm a fair critic, and the points that Paulie Malignaggi was making in regards to Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence, I understood it a lot more than some of the stuff I was hearing from Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones Jr., which is surprising because, you know, from a political landscape, some of the things that Paulie was saying were really egregious regarding race in America and things like that. And you have two Black American fighters, Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones Jr., and then you have a fight with two Black American fighters, Terrence Crawford and also Errol Spence Jr. And for that particular breakdown, I found myself siding a lot more with what Paulie was saying. Like, I don't have an official fight prediction, but I understood the argument that was being made, is what I'm saying. For example, the things that I disagree with Roy about is he says that Mikey Garcia had no problems going 12 rounds with Errol Spence Jr. I was at that fight and I completely disagree, because if you're going to say he has no problems going 12 rounds, then that means what is the explanation for round 9 where Robert Garcia said, yo, Mikey, I'm gonna have to throw in the towel. But first, let's listen to Roy Jones and his breakdown. Roll the clip.
Mikey Garcia came up from lightweight and fought Errol, and he didn't have no problem going 12 rounds with him. So it's not like he a killer puncher. Now he got killer pressure, but he don't have killer punching power on that one punch power because he never really even hurt Mike Garcia. He beat him with that pressure, but he never hurt him. So that's why if a guy was bigger and had punching power, that would be a problem for Terence. But Errol is not really your typical one punch guy. He's more of that pressure guy, which means that you don't have to worry about the one shot so much. You got to worry about the accumulation. Now, the body attack, I totally agree with because he has a vicious body attack and he sticks with it. He has discipline with it. But as far as being bigger, that really won't make a difference until late in the fight. If that body attack has any effect on you, then that size would also have an effect. But he's not the one punch guy that you think because he's bigger, he's gonna hit him one time and knock him out. That's not him. He don't fight like that. Right. So it's like, I understand what Paulie's saying, but that's why it was always debatable to me as to who will win, because can he last long enough to start affecting Terence, or will Terence catch him early and mess him up enough that he don't get the chance to get into his lane or into his mode? So that's why I think it's an intriguing fight. It's one that has to happen because both guys have something to prove.
So this is what I disagree with Roy Jones. First of all, he said that Mikey had no problem going 12 rounds, but again, his own brother said he was going to throw in the towel, and I was at the fight.
Errol had something. He was prepared for whatever Mikey did, so it was hard. It was hard to even. It's even hard to rate a performance because it was pretty much couldn't do much. Couldn't do much. So it was just one of those nights where Errol was the better man.
Now the 8th and 9th were really tough rounds for him. As a brother, how hard was it for you not to throw in the towel and call it off?
We actually I thought about it and my dad told me to do it before the round ended, but going into the ring and when I told Mikey, it's too much, I'm gonna stop it. He told me, look, I'm not winning the rounds. I know I'm not winning, and I'm not winning the fight, but I'm not getting hurt either. I'm blocking a lot, and he told me, he did tell me that a body shot got him really good, but not to a point where it was that bad to go down. And the head punches, he told me that, he felt them, because obviously Errol hits very hard, but that he was never hurt. So I told him, okay, I'm gonna give you a few more rounds, but if I see that punishment, I'm gonna stop it. And he says, don't stop it.
That was the brother and trainer, Robert Garcia, saying that him and his dad told him to stop the fight. So Roy Jones is basically saying that, Mikey comfortably went 12, but then there would be no conversations to stop the fight if you were easily going 12. The other thing that, like Roy Jones, what he's saying, and Mike Tyson, that I disagree with is you got to look at boxing, and I feel like you got to look at all the variables. Entering the Mikey Garcia fight, there was this stigma. Mikey got with the snack gym, he was flexing and stuff like that, and there was this stigma going around that Errol Spence was an inferior boxer. So I think he approached that fight meaning to beat Mikey Garcia at his own game. I'm a box smart, Mikey Garcia, they're saying he's more technical than me, and I'm gonna show the world that I could box, and he showed. So, the whole telecast with Roy Jones and Paulie Malignaggi, they keep saying how Terence Crawford is multifaceted and basically Errol's one-dimensional, and Errol got one mode and one style, but I disagree with that as well. And it's twofold to the Mikey Garcia point, because in the fight with Mikey Garcia was thought to be the supreme boxer, and he beat him at his own game. I think if Errol Spence did a Freaky Friday and boxed Sean Porter like he boxed Mikey Garcia, and then fought Mikey Garcia like he fought Sean Porter, I think he would have stopped Mikey Garcia. But nonetheless, I just showed you where his own brother and trainer, his family, his dad, said they were going to throw in the towel and stop the Errol Spence onslaught. And that was a boxing Errol Spence. And again, I think he went into the mindset. And then to go after what Mike Tyson's saying, he's saying that look at the outcomes of the Porter fight, but Porter showed up, no podcast, ready to bang, and that was the best version of Porter. He looked in shape, looked ready to go. After he fought Crawford, he told the world that, things went wrong in camp and he wasn't listening to his dad and training as hard, etc. So it's, it's hard to make those comparisons. But I definitely can't say Mikey Garcia comfortably went 12 rounds when he almost got stopped. which is basically what Roy is saying. Roy also said that Errol Spence is not a one-punch knockout artist. So if he's not a one-punch knockout artist, that's fine. You know, there's only a few guys, Gervonta Davis, Wilder, Beterbiev, that are single shot guys. But then what does that say for Terence Crawford? Because Errol Spence is mutilating guys' faces, and the culmination of punishment is really breaking bone and leaving guys looking disfigured. Guys like Danny Garcia, Ugas, you know, terrific fighters. Sean Porter said he was more hurt with Errol Spence than he was with Crawford. It's not my opinion. This is what was said. So if you're going to put that handicap on Errol Spence and say he's not a one-punch knockout, then who is Terence Crawford really knocked out, especially at welterweight, with single shots? So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me what is being said. You know, I think Crawford he's a dope fighter, but so is Errol Spence. It's a great fight. I'm just going off of the commentary. I think Errol Spence is being undermined. People are making it like he's one-dimensional. And, you know, Roy even said something like Terence Crawford could stifle him from getting into his mode. But again, I don't think Errol Spence has one mode. I think versus Mikey Garcia, he chose to box, and he was still aggressive, still hurting Mikey Garcia. I let you guys listen to that. So, you know, no matter who you're picking, it's a good pick because it's that type of fight. But when I hear these things, I'm curious to see what makes fighters say what they're saying about Errol Spence, because I really don't see it. Like, to say Errol Spence wasn't hurting Mikey Garcia, I mean, I beg to differ, and I was ringside for that fight because Mikey's nose was bleeding. He said in the interview, his brother said, this is days later too, that interview. Robert Garcia said, my brother was saying he got hit with a body shot, but just don't stop the fight. Yeah, because he didn't want to be embarrassed and stuff. But you notice right after the Mikey Garcia Errol Spence fight, Mikey took a year off and was doing exhibitions with Eric Morales. Ugas is taking probably the rest of the year off. Danny Garcia hasn't been seen since December 5th, 2020. And right now, as of me recording this video, June 15th, 2022. So when guys get in the ring with Errol Spence, even if people are saying he's not a one-punch guy, he's still putting people out for a while. They're out of commission where they don't come back. So, you know, it is what it is. People have their favorites, but I disagreed with a lot of what I was hearing from Roy and Tarver, and I found myself agreeing more with Malignaggi. But the great thing is, hopefully they fight, and then we get a solid conclusion. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation.